Hey, Nick, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. Happy Sunday.
Yeah, I know. I was super excited. Tyler, our mutual friend, has spoken super highly of you. He said that you have kind of an online presence and you're working on some unique stuff that's sounds like veteran focused. And I just found out too that fitness is a big part of your life. So I'm really excited to talk to you and get to know more about kind of your background, both in the military and then what you've done post-military. The Tech 45 podcast is kind of like a cross section between, advocating for veteran issues and then also diving into technologies that kind of benefit the human race as a whole. So looking at kind of a unique cross section of those two. But yeah, if you don't mind, giving my audience like a brief overview of who you are, maybe dive a little bit into your background and then what you've been doing the last couple of years.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I appreciate Tyler introducing us. He's a great guy. I really like him, and I hope he's doing well, which he is. Him and I gotta get another lunch on the schedule. So hopefully he'll hear this, and we'll get another one on the schedule. That's the one thing I tell people: get it on the calendar. It's not going to happen
Got
at
to.
all. You'll just put it down until it never happens. But no, I'm Nicholas Allen. I am the creator and host of the Lesser Known Operators podcast. My section of the military podcast world or social media world is special operations. So I conduct long form interviews of anyone who is a member of a special operations military occupational specialty, MOS, and just get them to tell their stories because there's a lot of things that we're going through that are not unique to the individual, but somebody out there may think it's unique to them and not want to talk about it. Or there's younger people that want to hear how it really is in special operations. They're aspiring to be Green Berets or SEALs or Rangers or what have you. So I like helping people tell their stories. And aside from that, I have built the social media platform, Lesser Known Operators, to work with whoever wants to work with me. Really. So that's the part of it. So this all started in January. I um, got out of bed, said I'm going to start a podcast, and now episode 100 and I think 102 comes out tomorrow. We started in January, and it's been real fun. Been working with a lot of cool people. Been all over the country. We did a road trip, and we'll see where things go. The benefits are immeasurable at this point, and it's really exciting. But before that, I was a Green Beret in the United States Army, and I joined the Army in 2011 as a field artilleryman. I went to selection in 2012. I got to the course in 2013. I graduated in 2014. And in 2015, right when I got to my team in this picture here, I got hurt right after we took that picture and got two concussions out on the ocean. And then I got another one the next day. And 3 years after that, I was medically retired in 2018. So I took that real hard and went through some struggles, tried to drink myself to death for probably 6 years and got sober, got to do some cool things, get plugged back in the community, and I just wanted to continue that. So that's the short synopsis of the last 15 years of my life. But I used to be a Green Beret. I took it really hard when I was no longer one, but now I've realized that I have a lot left to give the community. And I can be a better Green Beret on this side of retirement than I was in uniform. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, I love that. I always encourage a lot of my infantry guys that I serve with in the military that the skill sets you developed, and the hardships that you went through, whether you're an infantryman or special ops guy, those translate, directly towards ways that you can help your community, help other veterans, be a functioning member of society in so many different ways. And I love your background. You've done a lot in the last few years, and so I'm glad that you've gotten a microphone and you're willing to talk about it because I think there's a lot of Americans that have maybe have a slight misunderstanding on kind of like what the global war on terrorism was and what it wasn't. And a lot of people don't realize that like the brunt of the violence of that conflict between Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and other countries was more or less brunt by like a very small number of people. And I think that's often forgotten that there's a ton of people supporting the tip of the spear, but the guys that actually served in a combat position are very few. There's very few among us. So I think it's important that we stick together, and I don't know. I think it's important for people to know kind of the ins and outs of what happened, and also too another thing you just said is, and I wouldn't know it by looking at you today, but so many of my buddies that are out of the military now and searching for their purpose and their next mission, they're struggling, and substance abuse is rampant among veterans. Yeah, I think alcohol can be extremely damaging when you're trying to rebuild your life. It's just like a boat anchor around your ankle when you're trying to rebuild your life. It harms you physically, it harms you medically, mentally, but I think the worst thing that alcohol does is it kills your spirit. It really kills your spirit and your will to do great things. So yeah, I would love to hear about, like, how did you make that turn away from substances and maybe focus on more productive things? I know you mentioned that you're really into fitness now. I think that's a phenomenal outlet for veterans to pursue. Like, what was the turning point for you to change your life?
A couple things there. So I never got to deploy. I didn't get to do the thing. I did a lot of cool things, but I never got to do the thing as a Green Beret. I never got to deploy as part of my team. I was only on a team for 90 days, and I don't really even remember it, but I did a lot of cool things. I didn't get to do the one thing. And when we came down on orders for Afghanistan, I got medically retired in 2018. That was probably very difficult. That was most difficult thing to get over. Building this show and the platform has helped me the most with talking to people that served full careers and didn't get to do the thing as well. So I will never get over it, but I'm okay with it now. Uh, what stopped me from drinking is the cops got called to the house here, and after that, I stopped drinking. Now, I will tell your audience, do not go from half a handle of vodka a day to zero. You will die. Uh, I do not highly not recommend that. Very, very painful thing to do to yourself. Even more painful. But I never want to go through that again. So we're going to do our best. I 100% replaced drinking with the gym. I started back in the gym right away, and I have a quite a background in health and fitness. I've always active in sports, and I was always in the stood out with fitness in the military, and getting in to first group and just very strong as well. So I just leaned back farther into that. I'm not tactical anymore, and I never really will be. I can't get any more concussions. I mean, I probably could, but I would rather not do that. So I avoid any situations that put me in those sorts of compromising positions. So I work out. I'm very strong, very fit, and it's been it's helped me to stay in a rhythm. But it's uh it's a lot of fun. But I know it's tough because they wouldn't sell alcohol. It wouldn't be legal if it didn't universally work. It works for everybody. It makes everything better for the time being. It's available at every store and corner store, gas station, everywhere. I mean, if you can buy it at the same place you buy gas, then that's it's just everywhere, everywhere. And it was so ingrained in our military culture as well. If you did something good, you drank. If you did something bad, you drank. You're having a celebration, you drink. The team rooms for us, we had a beer fridge. Every team room had a fridge full of beer, even battalion. And I don't know about group. I think they had whiskey shelves and smoking lounges. But yeah, there was just so much alcohol, and it's so ingrained in the culture. And when people get out of the military, leave service, whether they're by their decision or not, uh, those last memories of the squad bay or the team room or the company area or anything good are related to alcohol. And they're trying to
Yeah.
hold on to that at any times. When they lose that family, man, they can be right back there when they flip on some music and crack a beer and just kind of get back into that. And they're holding on to those last vestiges of when things were easy, because the military is incredibly easy. All you got to do is work really hard and you'll be successful. And then you get out here and everything's doesn't measure up. It's I don't know, comfortable, less stress. It doesn't compare. So you try and numb those feelings or make it go away, and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't, and it's not helpful. I envy the people that are able to just have one and stop, but not me.
Yeah, that all resonates. I struggled, like I'd say, once the initial euphoria of getting my DD 214 wore off, within like 30 or 60 days, and I was, plugged into a civilian job, a great job off the bat. I I struggled. I struggled probably for the next 2 years, trying to like find my next mission, try to be a contributing member of my team that I was part of on the civilian side, and definitely leaned on alcohol heavily to try to numb that. I don't know that pain and that longing to be part of a high performing team again. I felt like that was totally lost. I was questioning, whether or not I made the right decision to get out off active duty. Um, but it wasn't helpful. I mean, the alcohol only kind of slowed my progress in finding that next mission, destroyed my physical health, of course. And I have so many buddies that are in that position today where they're not able to kind of close the chapter of their military career and move on and reinvent themselves and reboot. And the substance abuse only hinders their ability to do that. And I think if you were gonna give some advice for a veteran that maybe has let themselves go, they're not in peak physical condition like they used to maybe when they were on active duty and that was part of their everyday routine. If they're starting from scratch, let's say they're 30, 40 pounds overweight, uh, have a poor diet, and let's say they haven't been to a gym in a year or more, like what would you say would be the first, like what resources would you point them to, or like what sort of first steps would you suggest for someone like that who's just kind of getting back into it?
It's very hard to get people to do anything unless they have to or they want to. So, what I have settled on for my influence style is I have to act out what I say to people. The content that I make, I have to embody that in real life. People are not going to listen and they're not going to read, but they will watch what you do. So if I am trying to act out the things I say and the things I preach and offer up, then people are more likely to say, I can do that too. Or, because we compare ourselves to everybody else. I hate the phrase comparison is the thief of joy. That's bullshit. Envy is the thief of joy. If you want something somebody else has and then you're not willing to put in the effort to go get it, that will destroy you. That'll drag you into hell. But we compare ourselves to people all the time and go, oh, that person has a nice lawn. I want to have a nice lawn, or fuck that guy, right? Like, but if you're envious of it and you won't go get it or won't take the steps, then that'll drag you into hell. The fitness thing that I tell everybody is, okay, number one, I'm looking to get back into the gym. Just go to the gym one day a week, man. One day a week. You get 3 days of buffer on either side of that. Shoot for Wednesday. And if you can go one day a week, you have a high success rate of making it one time as opposed to 3 to 5 times a week. Then you have almost 100% failure rate at that point. You're going to fail because you'll get discouraged when you miss a day, because one workout does not matter. It will not do. You're not going to accomplish anything in one workout except make yourself sore and tired. But if you can stack that over weeks and months, then that's progress. But if you skip one, you're like, oh, it's only one, right? Well, then you'll skip two and you'll skip three. But if you can start with one day a week and start getting in a rhythm and some sort of semblance of a plan, and then you'll meet people there. You want to go, and that's your normal time, because you got normal things that you do every day now that suck the life out of you, that you waste hours on a day. So if you can commit to going one day a week, um, that's probably going to be the best place to start. And then you'll realize, but just like you want, you want to be getting better for you, not for somebody else. You are the only person that has to live your life. You're the only person that can be honest with yourself. Am I doing everything I need to be? Okay, I'm tired. Okay, that's fine. Rest. Am I injured or am I hurt? Well, honestly, answer that honestly with yourself, not telling somebody what you think they want to hear or you think you need to look like or you need to be up to these standards. What are my limitations? Honestly, because you're the one in control. You're the only one that can actually say what's going on. But But number one thing I tell people that want to get back in, commit to 1 day a week. Start there and build from the bottom. Don't try and build the whole foundation of the house right away, just the cornerstone, and then work out from there.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think the consistency is key, and like that'll build on some of the things that you mentioned, like kind of the themes of what I've heard you just say are, kind of agency over your own life, like kind of putting yourself in the driver's seat of your own life. You're the only one that can make the decisions for you, for yourself. And then having some self-respect too. I think, we get so used to, some of the torturous training and, some of the military lifestyle, like, and you got to get away from that altogether. So
Nobody, you can't keep that up. There's,
you can't,
I
you
talked
can't.
to a trainer yesterday. It's not even 1 out of 100. It's one out of tens of thousands of people. You can say, you're only going to eat this. You're going to work out 3 times a day. You're going to sleep at this time. You're going to drink this amount of water. That's so regimented. You have to be so dedicated
Yep.
to something that nobody else can see. That's a path. It's unreasonable. You can't hold normal people to that. And not saying that the people that can do that are any better than the other folks. But that's pushed, right? Because if I want any of my fitness stuff to do well on Instagram, it has to be something that almost nobody can do, and Instagram will push it. And that's all the stuff that gets pushed. Stuff that get pushed is something nobody else is doing. That's the best kind of type of content. If you want engagement, is you have to get people to stop and look and go, oh, I want that, or I wish I had that. For military ones, if I post a picture with somebody with 3 tabs, Special Forces Ranger Sapper tab, people, they comment the shit out of it or like it or share it because they're like, oh man, that's crazy. The amount of, because everybody in the military knows that that's a tremendous amount of work to get, and it gets engagement. It's something almost nobody can get. Even any Green Beret, almost no Green Berets can get that. So it's just something like that. And as far as fitness, if you start lifting over 500 pounds, 600 pounds, 700 pounds, the population, the more people be like, that's crazy. So and then based on that, that's all you see is these ridiculous things that take decades to do. You know how
Yep.
long it takes to squat 700 pounds? It takes a lifetime to get to that weight. And so people have, consciously or subconsciously, they're being pushed these things that are unattainable, and they get discouraged. So, and we go back to the technology, algorithms, all this other stuff. We're subconsciously being put down.
Yeah.
And but there's a way to realize it, but it even sucks me in because I'll see it. I'll be looking at stuff and go, oh man, like I'm bigger than this person. How is this person lifting more than me? And then I go, oh, it's fake. They're trolling to get engagement. But some people, if it's in a competition, that's real. That's a real lift, right? There's no way to fake that. But if it's, some of these are fake, but some of them are real. But then you get down, you're like, what am I doing with my life? And then you got to pull yourself out of it. So, but it's the whole thing is set up to keep you engaged, to get you angry, to get you agitated, to keep you scrolling, keep your attention, make money off of you.
It's so true. Yeah. I mean, shopping malls in general in the US have, pretty much been on a steady decline for the last couple of decades, but they're selling so many products now, like directly through Instagram, through Facebook, through Google. And I met someone like it was wearing a watch, like a pretty cool watch, had a picture ingrained like in the back of the watch of their family. And I was like, "Oh, cool. Where'd you get that?" They're like, "Yeah, I bought it, directly off Instagram." And I've never bought anything, through Instagram. I don't have the app on my phone or anything. And I was like, wow, like, that's how people are buying products. And I think that's how younger people are buying products more and more. So like they definitely have a real incentive to like keep you engaged and keep you with the app open in front of your face, scrolling forever. And I've even heard like anecdotally that Meta hires people from like the casino gaming industry because those people know how to develop, visuals and like graphical user interfaces that are addictive to the human brain. Like they're playing to human psychology in a really unique way. And I'm not sure it's a good thing for humanity. I mean, you probably have Meta probably has, I think like 2 billion human beings use Meta apps, but I'd love to get your take on that because like social media has been good for me in a way to keep in touch with people that I serve with in the military that are scattered about the planet. But I see some of the content that's posted and it can't be good for the human psyche to watch this stuff all the time.
Everything everything is being used against you to get money out of you.
Totally. That's
Uh,
how I feel.
I and I have no idea how. I get paid every month from Facebook, and I don't know why. I post my stuff, I get my views, and they send me money every month because I think they put ads in between my reels and other people's reels
Yeah.
based on the amount of people that are watching them. So they'll, because if you get somebody sucked into a reel, they're likely to be zoned out and watch that ad that's in between the next reel. So I and I'm a little fish, so they've got to be raking in money. So how are they getting that money? Well, they're getting advertisers. Well, they're getting advertisers because they're doing something. Every, the, I mean, Meta's $1 trillion evaluated company. What's $1 billion to spend on? It's nothing. It's a rounding error, really. So Philip Morris did it. Food companies do it. Taste, all this other stuff. Uh, down any successful small business analyzes it has a CRM for their customer retention management software. Everybody is trying to figure out how to retain your attention to get your money out of your pocket into their account. And the more money you have, the more research you can put into it, refine these things, make food taste better, make cigarettes more addictive. Now, okay, cigarettes are out of style. Well, we're going to put the nicotine into little pouches. Just shifting focus. My wife said something last night. She's watching old shows now because she said, I came upstairs. She's like, oh, no, the new shows suck. I said, there's no incentive for them to be good because there used to be only 10 channels and you can
Yep.
only have so many shows on those 10 channels. And if the show sucked, they had to get rid of it because they needed somebody to people to keep watching because those ads they were paying a lot of money at the time. But now there's no incentive for shows to be good. They just need to get it onto a streaming service because there's unlimited slots. So that's why when you watch Stranger Things or you watch Squid Game, you go, "This is amazing." Well, I don't know objectively if we were to place that, would it be because all the shows used to be great? Now all the shows are terrible, and now
Yep.
something's so good. So it's very we have this scale of things. Everything's different though, but that's the generation. It doesn't mean it's one different, but the technology is what do I say with it's not that the people in charge don't. So I say this from military, right? Because there's the people in charge are the two generations back. It's not that they don't understand the incoming generation; it's that they lack the ability to ever understand the
Yeah.
incoming generation. But that's going out by the wayside because technology is advancing at such smaller and smaller and smaller blocks. And we have the big gap between understanding of younger people and older people and this and that and ChatGPT, and we're in this race to make everything easier, faster. We retain less information because we can get it at the touch of a fingertip, and or just talk to our phone and things like that. And um, I wouldn't say it's yeah, unprecedented times. I mean, 125 years ago, there were no cars, and now you have all the information ever in the history of the Earth in less than a second.
It's so wild. I don't think the human brain is like developed enough to be able to handle all that information.
We're not smart enough to
Yeah.
understand. But the people that have the money to put into these things, like you're saying, with making it more and more money, the smartest people in the world will always rise to the top, and now they have the ability to do all these things, use technology to their advantage, and it's just lengthening the gap in between our understanding. Even if you have two people of the same level of intelligence, but you stretch them out, one has a lot less opportunities than the other one, they're going to go in much different directions. So
Yeah.
it's
There's no
it's a
doubt.
it's a long debate. Is it good? Is it bad? But humans have used every invention ever to kill each other, and we're just on a path towards wiping out our species anyway. So I'm not worried about anything. Uh,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in what you said, and like my friends that haven't served in the military and they haven't, maybe they don't know anybody that's served in the military. They sometimes misconstrue like the prosperity and the relative safety that we have in the U.S. is not a common thing like throughout human history. Like North America was inherently very, very violent. People were fighting over resources, hunting land. For most of North America's like humans existing on North America, that's was the general truth for a long time. And it's only recently that we've, been able to enjoy this relative peace and prosperity in North America. I mean, even in the 1800s, the U.S. was extremely violent. I mean, it's extremely violent. There was, warring tribes. There was, warring towns in the South. That we had a civil war that killed 600,000 Americans. I mean, it was only kind of recently where we've had relative peace and security in the U.S. and it's not very common throughout human history. So
We are just one misplaced nuclear device away from complete chaos. And
100%.
for everybody listening or not listening, there's 12,500 nuclear devices in the world. And eventually, one is going to get to somebody that's going to use it,
Yep.
unless they can decommission them. And at any given time, there's 3,500 ready to fly, which is 100 times more than is needed to wipe out all life on the planet or something like that. So we are far beyond our need for anything like that. It's but as a result of that, I don't worry about anything. We're already dead. We're only alive because a couple people in the world allow it, and there's nothing I can do about that. I don't worry about anything that I can't control like that. If I can't make it up by my work or my influence with my social media and stuff like that, or the people I can directly talk to or touch, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing at all I can do. I don't get riled up by the stuff on the news, immigration, the issues in other cities, anything like that. There's nothing I can do. Nothing. The
Yeah.
problems, some of these problems have gotten so big that it's going to do what it does. I'll never meet any of those people that made any of those decisions that caused these issues, or that will solve the problems either. So the only thing I can do is I can be as relaxed as I can, as strong, as fit as I can, as healthy as I am, able to operate if things go bad, and able to operate if things continue on the path they're on. We get so depressed thinking about things we can't affect, things that have no impact on our lives. Maybe they do, but is there anything you can do about it? Yes. Okay, let's do something about it. No. Well, then I got to worry about other stuff. What can I actually affect? My health, the things I eat, the things I say, my attitude, you know, how much I
Yeah,
drink,
I
how
agree.
much I walk, all the water, how the sleep I get, the relationships with my family, those things. And we, what did Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, he said, worrying is paying a debt you don't owe. And we do a lot of that. And it's unfortunate, but it's hard to convince people otherwise. So we do what we can, we affect what we can, and hopefully that's what I'm after, right? When I was drinking all the time, everything was all about me, what I want, what I want. That. Like, I don't give a shit. Let's help other people. I Now I'm trying to be as positive as possible all the time, and I feel a lot better. I have a lot better message. I'm positive. I'm more fit. I'm healthier, and I just want to help people feel fulfilled in what they're doing as well. So
Yeah, it's a good outlook. I mean, you want to share like the positive things that you feel. You want to share that with other people. And it sounds cool too that you've gone out of your way to share other people's stories too, especially from the special operations community. And like we do worry about stuff that, is not only outside of our control, it might not even be real. I mean, I look at a photo like this that I'll bring up here for a second, and like like whenever I see my buddies getting riled up on the news, I'm like, what you're looking at could very well be a bot farm that looks something like this. A bunch of cell phones that are strung together on a server rack that are being operated by someone in Vietnam. I mean,
if
this is,
you yeah, if you think it's a bot, just comment. If you're not a bot, say pickle. You know, um, I've seen that one a lot. Yeah, you're
it's
fighting with.
crazy.
I will fight with bots though, just to keep just to keep other people fighting with them to drive engagement sometimes on posts that are going viral and things like that. But
Yeah.
no, a lot of this stuff. And now AI is getting so good. I saw one, oh, very brilliant. And I lump this in. There's a couple phrases that I hear people say where I was like, shit bag, because on the military related posts people will be like, oh, these people that make special forces their whole lives or make the military their whole lives are going to have a hard time adjusting. And I go, shit bag for sure. 100% that person was a shit bag. Somebody that wasn't would word that differently. They would actually have some empathy and care and that, things like that. But also here now on the civilian side with AI, and this is brilliant, but also shitbag. People are taking pictures of their burger orders from fast food restaurants or local bar chains, putting it into AI, say, make this burger look raw. And then
Oh
they're
my
sending that back to the app,
God.
getting their money back.
Seriously?
Yeah.
This
Mhm.
has happened. Why am I surprised? Why am I surprised that people are doing stuff like this? That's
And then,
insane.
but then I lump it into also very unintelligent because you have to brag about it on social media, right? Look at this. I just scammed Uber Eats out of $24. And so you got to brag about it. And now Uber Eats or whatever has to invest $1 billion into AI detection software to see if the food is if that's an actual image or an AI image and things like that. So there's just like with Iraq and Afghanistan, this escalation. Like we've got the bombs that can do this, so we got V holes and we got all this other stuff, right? It's one thing comes another. So everything. Yep, there you go. That's the exact image I
This
saw.
is crazy, dude. I've never heard of such a thing. Like, I've never heard of this unique application of AI, but it's astounding to me. Like that someone's like getting free food from Uber Eats or DoorDash,
Yeah.
like by lying about them getting a rare burger instead of a medium well done one. Like,
But also that could be that could be fake too. Somebody could have just had this idea in their head and then made up a fake article that they didn't actually do this in real life, and now somebody takes that idea and is now doing it in real life. So you don't know because you didn't
dude,
know until I
that's
said that didn't exist. That thought didn't
no,
exist to you.
no.
But everything that comes along with all this technology can be used for bad or for and and using the term good and bad, that's also dangerous as well because it's all perspective. The person who did that, that's a that's a benefit 100% to them. They think that's okay because they're just getting their money back and they're going to keep some money, but they're taking from another small business. It's all perspective. So this person, I'm fine with this, but this person's losing profit. They lost the opportunity and they're losing the money back. So they gave away the product and they gave the money back. So they lost two. They lost twice. Where this person gained a meal and their money. So it's all perspective. Everything is good to someone and bad to someone else.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just people that do that sort of thing. I just have no words to describe someone that's like willing to scam a small business out of a meal like that. And then they, on top of that, maybe they left a crappy review and they posted it on, Google reviews. It just, I don't know. That's a really bad societal trend that people are doing that, in general. Like they think like just because they're ordering a burger off of a faceless, app that's run by Uber Eats or DoorDash, like they don't think that small businesses aren't impacted negatively by that, by their behavior.
Yeah.
But
Well, because that burger, right? The burger and fries they ordered from the local place in town there. Um, been there for 50 years, right? And now
mhm.
they're up on Uber Eats or DoorDash. They never been there. They just wanted a burger and fries. And they're close to the city and it gets brought out to them by a driver who doesn't know them. And there's no connection. There's no anything.
Yeah.
Just an application on a phone. It's not real. But you start looking at these things and like with celebrities, right? So many people listen to Joe Rogan to the point where it's almost like a fictional character. It's like a story. How can this be real that this person's this famous and has this much influence? And but you go back to it, he's just a regular guy. I'm just a regular guy sitting in my basement and I did all these things. But we see him on social media and you think it's just your phone. Like your brain thinks it's just your phone. You're just watching a story and you're not. You're watching a person, a business. And You see it with religions that'll pop up with cults. You know, they're only out to take people for everything they're worth, and control and power, and what else? Everything, organized crime. Um, my favorite, American Greed, right? That show with Stacy Keach, great voice. Stacy Keach narrating on people taking everybody for their life savings every episode, every week. That's really using people, smart people using technology in a negative way for their advantage at every turn.
Yeah.
And with technology, there's some stuff I've uncovered where I've found, I go, nobody else can see this because nobody's on their phone this much. And this is brilliant. And I've brought it up to some people and they go, I never would have thought of that. I never would have thought about it. And I'm investigating some stuff on my side that I've found, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. There's going to be a paper on it someday. It's so smart, but it's, it's disturbing. Like I said, everything that
It is.
is invented or made for good can be used for bad instantly.
Yeah, especially now. And I think what you said, like the fact that society has become so anonymous, like we're interacting with these, like these people through social media sites or like you said through Uber Eats, like there's so much anonymity in our daily lives where like you don't have any connection to that local burger place or that person that's delivering you the food. And so like you feel okay, like basically stealing from that business and generating a fake image to get a refund. But I think what we lack, especially in like modern American society, is that we have no accountability like in our communities. Like there is so many like faceless interactions and so many anonymous interactions that are not even in person. They're through an intermediary via a tech company that that's part of the problem is like people don't feel like there's any like real consequences for their actions because and even if they understand the consequences, like they're not accountable to them. And I think that's a big problem. It's like I've traveled to a few countries where there is very, very high accountability. Like one story I wanted to share with you to get your take on it was Iceland. Like I was talking to my tour bus driver in Iceland, super smart guy. The people there are generally just like very highly educated. He spoke better English than I did, and he was basically saying like, yeah, we in Iceland like we don't really understand crime. Like you guys have a lot of crime in the U.S., high murder rates, lots of burglary. Like we see the statistics on BBC, and I was like, yeah, that's all true. I mean, definitely concentrated around larger urban areas. And he was saying here in Iceland, like if you commit a crime, like you're committing a crime against someone that is probably like indirectly related to you. Like it might be your uncle knows that person, or it might be like your cousin's friend. It's a country of like 300,000 people total on this little like frozen rock in the middle of the ocean. And there's just a lot more accountability for people's actions in general. And this came up when he was talking to a police officer as we were driving through the road, and he was saying, "Yeah, we don't really understand crime in Iceland, like the same way that crime exists in the United States. Like we don't get it. Like it's not something that is acceptable here. It's not something that's tolerated at all." So
So, what are you asking me there on that?
yeah, I mean, do you think any of these problems that we see like this in the U.S. like stem from like a lack of accountability? Or like what is like the root cause of a lot of these things that we see
Oh,
today?
we are a nation of opportunity.
Yeah.
We have been since we got over here. Everybody has their stake their claim. They have their own property. We're Americans. We are separate, and we can make our own future. And there's a complex answer in there, but the more people you introduce into an enormous space, the more spread out they're going to be. There's what is that one graphic? It says there's 8 distinct countries inside the United States. I just drove this whole thing. I drove the whole country, and there is no similarities between Miami, Florida, and Fort Lewis, Washington. None.
No.
The different people, the different mannerisms, the climate, everything, and it's so far away from one another. And when you add that in the United States, but then we put it into the cities, and then these complex ecosystems that interact in the cities, and people just trying to survive. And oh god, we go through the 80s, 70s, and the 80s crime, and serial killers and drugs and the government messing with people just for studies because they can get away with it, and all kinds of stuff. And then we get into the 90s, and the 90s, the rise of the internet and social media coming out, and then the terrible things that we did in the 2000s with introducing prescription drugs to everyone to try and get them. We collapsed the world economy and all these other things. I don't know. Maybe people have had to fend for themselves this whole time, and that's part of it. You got the Dixie Mafia down in Georgia, stemmed out of crime, taking care of the locals, and people sticking up for one another and fighting against authority. I don't know. I think it just little problems work into bigger problems as we go down the road until we're so far like a game of telephone from where we started that. And this place is huge. This country is huge. Actually, here, this is now that I've talked into it. I tell my wife is from South Africa, and she says, "I don't understand." So marijuana is legal when we lived in Washington. Marijuana is legal here, and it's illegal in the United States. I said, exactly. You can buy weed in Washington, except in the United States, it's illegal. She goes, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, I go, oh, no, it's okay, right? Because 165 years ago, we had a war and everybody was invited because the states wanted to do whatever they wanted to. So we had a big war. We killed 600,000 people. And then we brought everybody back together. And then we said the states can do whatever they want. And she goes, that doesn't make any sense. I said, exactly. And so that's how we got to where we are. There's 50 different countries inside the states. And then we have Puerto Rico as well. And they can all make their own laws, and they can make whatever laws they want and give benefits to whoever they want in their states, as long as the federal government isn't going to enforce the overarching laws. And as long as it doesn't rise to a level where the federal government's like, I'm not going to get involved. You do whatever the hell you want. Then the states can do whatever they want. So you have all these different opinions and things and views on cities and political systems and people pinned against one another and economic and where you start from. It's a very complex issue. And but
Yeah.
our freedoms, the Constitution is set up to destroy us from within. We are open to anybody coming in, and as long as it's covered under freedom of speech and freedom of religion, you can say or do whatever you want as long as you're here. And the majority of the country will support that because this is America. You can say or do whatever you want. Well, oh, I don't like what you're saying there. Well, it's covered under this one. Well, that you can't yell fire in a building, but that's my religion is yelling fire in a crowded building. Oh shit. Oh fuck, there's a loophole here. That's a very pessimist way of looking at it, but I believe if for the wrong reasons, if somebody comes at it from a negative light, our Constitution is set up to destroy us. So from
Yeah,
within.
yeah, it certainly leaves a lot of vulnerabilities, like you said. And I've even found the theme is depending on which administration's in power in DC, certain states will almost like overcorrect. They'll be like, no, we're passing laws to shelter ourselves from these federal, legislative processes that are happening in DC. Like we've seen that go back and forth where, if one administration's in power, then, Washington state might go out of their way to introduce new legislation to counteract what's happening at the federal level. And it happens almost like every 4 years. And I don't know, it's interesting is I think it's disruptive for sure. I mean, I can't imagine running like a multinational business and then you're having to have a team of lawyers and geopolitical advisors, tell you, hey, like this administration is going to mess up this part of your business, and like it's just there's no long term vision. It seems like every 4 years everything is upended in DC, and businesses have to react to that. So
We're in an age where the other side just has to hold on for four
yeah,
years, and there's a
yep,
pretty good chance that they'll be able to swing that pendulum back the other way and wipe out every bad thing that the other side did, piss off everybody else. And do things really change? Oh, I don't know. Do they change that much? In the cities, things are very different than they were 30 years ago. Everybody I know that lived, everybody that I associate with that lived in the city, talks about their city as it's nothing like it was when I grew up. It's a
Yeah.
shithole. It's dirty and things like that. And I go, that's probably not good. It's probably not good. Um, but we, yeah, we make these laws up, and we hope for the best for a group of people. But I'm trying to get this thought back. We can't even figure out if Bigfoot exists. We can't even definitively say if there's a giant ape walking around in the Appalachians or in the Pacific Northwest or in the mountains in Tibet. Can't rule it out. Not one. There's shows about it. There's people that 100% believe that have met Bigfoot. We cannot prove nor deny that Bigfoot exists. Do you think we can effectively run a country to make everybody happy?
Yeah, no way.
No, no.
I do question the incentives though, because like when I see, the number of lobbyists that operate in DC, and then, political leaders, especially in Congress, that have been in power for 30 years, I'm like, at what point did they enter this, job with good intent, like wanting to do better for their constituents, or were they corrupt from the beginning, or were they corrupted by being in that environment and just seeing the amount of money and influence?
Just Jordan Peterson, he says, if you're going to push things, you push it farther. You push it until people push back, and then you pull back,
Hmm.
and then you push it farther next time. And that's with people's morals or their beliefs.
Yeah.
Get pushed one way, and then they'll be like, oh, I only have to go a little bit further, and you go a little bit further, and you go a little bit further, and you're swinging what you started believing is not what you believe now. We all change. We all evolve based on what we see and what we hear and what we do. I distill it down to this: the people with money and power have ruled the earth for all of time. There is no difference now than any time in history. And if we think that there are people who have all the money and all the power are not in charge now, then we have taken no lessons from history. And then we are so naive to the fact that our vote or our voice matters. It's only whoever's in charge, and we can vote for whoever we want to. And that's not just, I'm not saying no doom and gloom. That's just how it is. Always the people with all the money and all the influence and all the power have been in charge, and they're in charge now. And hopefully they're not, you know, Ra's al Ghul. Hopefully they're Bruce Wayne. So
Yeah, I've heard it distilled down to the like someone was saying that like there's really only like 100 people in the world that have like the most like where like the power concentration is like in the hands of like 100 people in the world.
no,
It
it's
might
I
be
mean,
like yeah.
Vladimir Putin is the most powerful man in the world. He has almost as many nukes as we do, and he has complete control over the one of the largest countries in the world with one of the largest populations. Hands down, the most powerful man in the world. Second is, I would maybe say Trump, but probably Xi Jinping. He has complete control over his population as well, and the parliament cabinet or however it works there, total control over that population and that military. We are somewhat a democracy. We have to ask for things to happen. You have people that have opposing views and things like that. In other countries, you just eliminate the opposing views. So there's much more dangerous countries than ours to powerful. But hands down, Vladimir Putin's the most powerful person in the world by far. Oh, Elon's got lots of money and things like that, but you can buy some things, but to have a country with that landmass and that power, it pales. Ours pale in comparison. But when you are in the military like you were and I were, God, we spend $1 trillion on budget. We have some severe advantages when it comes to that. It's just, will we use it? Would we use it if it came to it? Unfortunately, it would be the
Yeah,
end of all life on this planet if we did.
I know it. Yeah, it's like we are at the advent where like in general, like human beings have enjoyed like a increasing level of quality of life across the planet. Like third world countries are starting to be brought out of poverty. Generally things are like getting better for human beings from a comfort level. But there's this like I think about this all the time, what you just said. Like there is this chance, like every day, that one of these nation states could set off a nuclear bomb, and then it would disrupt everything. We would go back, 200 years overnight. I mean, it would disrupt everything, all the, modern energy grids that we enjoy, all of the, global food production, like all of that would be gone.
And then 90% of the world's population would die in the next 9 months.
Totally.
But I mean, it's that's a real possibility. We live on a rock traveling through space around a giant ball of hydrogen that converts helium or converts hydrogen to helium, and it radiates heat from 8 million miles away or 90 million miles away, whatever it is, I forget, one solar unit away. And 8 light minutes. It takes light 8 minutes to travel from the sun to Earth. So and then that's traveling around the Milky Way at a tremendous amount of speed. And the Milky Way is traveling towards the Andromeda galaxy, which is over there off in the distance at a million and a half miles an hour. And then in 4 billion years, they're going to collide. And then what's life going to look like at that point? So we're worrying about stuff on this volcanic rock traveling around with the moon around it and the tides and all these other things. So once you get to the
Yeah.
macro level, you're like, what can I control? Me, you know, what I eat, what I say, what I do, and how I sleep, and who I talk to and associate with, and my attitude, and what I accomplish. Because
Yeah.
maybe there's a meaning to life, and we're here for a purpose at the most optimistic outside of it, and then the most negative is maybe we're not. Maybe we're somewhere in the middle. Maybe there's something we don't have the capability to understand. But hopefully, at least we can, the people that we have influence over and that we talk to, that we associate with, that we can just be nice, whatever nice looks like. Just be nice and positive and help one another out. At least on this side of things, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that resonates deeply with me. That's how I try to live my life in general. I think like you every day you have a real opportunity to make someone's life a little bit better, right? Like take care of your family, get a good night's rest so you're more positive, you have a more positive outlook on life, do something good for people or maybe make some content that'll encourage others to, get more into fitness and taking care of their overall health. Like there are real opportunities that you have every single day to improve the lives of the human beings around you. What you don't have is, for most people, is the opportunity to help someone that's over in the Middle East or that's over in Ukraine or that's over 2,000 miles away from where you're sitting. Like it just most people are not in a position to do anything about it. Like you can get riled up about it, but it's just a distraction for most people.
I got a story about that. So we're in the 18 Charlie course. For everybody listening at home, 18 Charlie is a Special Forces engineer sergeant. Your specialties are explosives, construction, demolition, and logistics. They only teach you the construction and the explosives part. You got to figure out the rest when you get to your team. So we are like day 2 of special operation construction, which is the first phase of the Charlie course, which is about halfway through the entire Special Forces qualification course. And I forget his name, but he comes in and he's one of the senior instructors. He's been there forever, and he's given us this picture slide. I'm quite jealous of this slideshow now, thinking back on it, because he had hundreds of pictures of his whole career and his whole life. He knew what he was doing when he started out, because he had the whole thing. And he starts getting to the point, and he's talking about Africa, and then he stops, and then he starts on a different story, and he goes, back on Africa, right? Have you guys ever heard of those infomercials where you can sponsor a kid in Africa? And we all go, obviously, yeah. And he goes, all right. So we get a new team leader in, and he's the team sergeant, and they get a new team leader in. Team leader is a captain, a senior captain that has gone through the qualification course, graduated, got his Green Beret, and gone to a team. And the captain's usually the most junior guy on the team. He's just in command, because that's just how things work, and they get changed out all the time. 18 months, and then you get a new one. But they get a new captain in, young guy, same age. All the captains that come to the teams are about 28 years old, and 29 years old, something like that. And it comes down, he's all excited, and they get settled. First mission that comes up is they're going to do a rotation in Central Africa. And he's like, oh, that's so cool. I'm actually, I sponsor a kid at a village in Central Africa, in that country. And the team sergeant, he goes, yeah, you need to cancel that shit. That's a scam. And he goes, no, I get letters, and I get pictures from them every year, and where my money's going and things like that. And so well, if we can't convince you, then just keep doing whatever makes you happy, sir. And so they go out, and then they deploy to, I want to say like Niger or something like that, but I don't know that. I don't remember. And they finish up. They're doing their foreign internal defense, and they're training with their partner force, and they wrap up, and they go, "Hey, sir, that village is only a couple hours from here.
Oh, dude,
You want to go?"
stop,
And
stop.
they already know. They already know the answer, and because they've and so they're like, "Oh, can we do that?" He goes, "Well, sir, we're the only team in this country. We can do whatever we want." It's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay." So they saddle up and they get in their trucks and they drive across the country, and they find that village, and then they find that tribe, and they find the kid. Magically, they find the kid, and they have never heard of this organization or
of
that
course not.
money, and ever not a single dollar got to that kid. But they remedied the situation. That they set something up that kept sponsoring that village and that family. After that, he canceled that subscription and started directly sponsoring the village
Good
after
for him.
that. Yeah,
Good for him. His
but
heart was in the right place, you know.
back to what you said, even if you there's somebody scamming you out of
Yeah.
things because you think where does your dollar go when you round up at McDonald's? Does it really go to Ronald McDonald House? What does their 5590 look like, or 1090, that form? How much is going to programs? How much is going to administrative fees? Are these nonprofits feeding themselves and just keeping people employed? What does the program schedule look like? Where is all that money going? So it's very tough. It's very difficult to know what you're actually impacting that you can't actually touch and see and have right in front of you and know. And you have people, then you've got your friends and you trust what they're saying. But, you get another friend away and another friend away, and stuff started getting muddled and very fuzzy. So we do not have as much control on our lives as we think we do.
No, not at all. I tell you what, though, I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm super cynical. I live outside DC, and I'm very skeptical of almost every nonprofit in general.
I've got some information. I'm not gonna get into it.
Yeah, and I don't have any like proof or evidence of this, but from like what I've heard anecdotally from friends that have worked at nonprofits or supported nonprofits in the past that are, headquartered here in DC, right? Like right by where all the influence is, and they've said that like most of the nonprofits are a scam, pretty much.
Uh, my friend who jumps nonprofits, startups, things like that. He just jumps around. If he's like, I don't like the climate here, I'll go to another one. And he summed it up the best. Just because they're nonprofit does not mean non-revenue. And if you look at it with just that little sentence, it's a business. This is a
Totally.
business. Just because they're not profit sharing doesn't mean they're not profiting.
Yeah, I think you're
So
right. I think there's a lot of them that serve to be a tax shelter, like they're associated with a business or a founder of businesses as to be a tax shelter, and maybe it's well intended, maybe it's not. And then there's some of them that really are just funneling money to political causes for for a for-profit entity. So I just think the incentives are oftentimes misaligned. And like you said, sometimes the administrative costs are astronomical. Like sometimes
yeah,
the CEO of the nonprofit will be pulling in hundreds of thousands of dollars or
yeah.
more.
Or it's a business just washing money.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say, a lot of now the ones I work with, I mean, there's people not taking money. There's people not getting paid. Everything's going to programs because everybody's a volunteer. And I
Yep.
go, guys, you have got to pay yourselves. You are working 2 40-hour jobs a week,
Yeah.
and you're letting the one pay you, and then you're working another 8 hours every day. Like, you have to get paid for that. Like, you're gonna drive you to be cynical or resentful one day. You gotta, it's like turn it out. But everybody's got their thing. So there are a lot of nonprofits that are doing the right thing the right way, but it only takes one to up for everybody else, and then everybody gets mad and investigates, and then it goes away for a while because something else will come out in the news. But it's just like art. You can funnel a lot of money through evaluating art for higher than it's worth, or
Yeah.
changing money through a nonprofit. If there's a way to manipulate the tax code, somebody smarter than you has figured it out.
100%. Yeah. I'm so fascinated by how people they use artwork or jewelry or actual gold bullion as like a store of money that's not trackable on any sort of ledger, right? That's outside of the typical banking industry. And I'm like so fascinated how people like they'll move from country to country, wearing like $500,000 in jewelry or luxury watches, or they have gold woven into their trench coat. I'm like, that is a real thing that goes on every day. Like people, or the artwork thing is perfect because the artwork doesn't have any like inherent value, right? It's whatever someone's like willing to pay for it. And I think the artwork, you're onto something with that. I think there's a lot of nonprofits that deal in artwork, and then there's a lot of wealthy people like in that circle. Um, like I said, I don't have any like direct evidence of this, but it seems like it's an organization that's, you know, a perfect target for money laundering.
I, I've had people in the comments tell me I'm too negative, but I'm just real and about a lot of the things I say.
Yeah, yeah.
It's what I can affect and what I can talk to. I, all these things. There's one theory that the universe is so big that everything that can happen is happening. Well, the Earth is pretty big as well, and there's a lot of
Hmm.
people on it, and everything that can happen as far as business is happening all the time. All the good and all the bad are happening all the time. There are trillions of transactions a day going on. I mean, McDonald's has served like 200 billion people or some shit like that in their existence, and it's just one little company. And there's all these companies and microtransactions and shit like this and going on. Shit, I'm getting paid on Facebook to have my reels on there. All of these things. So there's so much going on that we don't understand, and people that are getting paid to operate at the top of their field and manipulate all of these codes and everything. But again, back to what can I do about it? Not a lot. Not a lot.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people should take that to heart, what you said. I think I have so many friends and family that just get so spun up about, the current events and the 24-hour news cycle. And it's designed to do that. Like it's designed to be, um, exploitive of, what's going on and like, oh, the sky's falling and to get people engaged and then they can sell to advertisers. The more viewership they have, the more ad revenue they can bring in. So like the whole system is incentivized for that
yeah.
reason, but like yeah.
But there's the downside of it, of people like me that just want to be left alone and that they know they can't control things, right? Is because that now we go back to crime. There's no punishment for crime, really. Otherwise, people would stop doing. If you were okay, you stole somebody's horse. Well, you got hung. You know, they they took you out to the center of town and killed you
Hmm.
for things like that. Not the best due process system, but that's you're done. You're gone. And so there's the whole other side of it. Most people just want to be left alone. They want to be left to their own devices, and that can lead other people to just do what they want because they know nobody's going to stand up against them, especially in this detached world that we live in. People don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to talk to one another, and there's no de-escalation of anger in public and things like that. And people are quick to judgment, quick to be angry, and there's no reasoning, there's no debate because we don't know how to speak to one another anymore. We've lost the ability to talk about religion and politics at the dinner table. I read one about that the other day. Is our unwillingness to talk about religion and politics at Thanksgiving dinner has led us to the inability to not be able to speak to one another. Which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the de-escalation comment that you made is super important because like just because you have a disagreement with somebody, like I'm always open to hearing someone's side of the story or someone's opinion on stuff. I'm like I'm open. Like if I find out new information on something, I'm open to changing my opinion on it. But some people are so like deeply rooted in a particular way of thinking or like they feel strongly about something in particular that no new information, even if it was like right in front of their face, would change the way that they feel about this. And it almost like is like a religion. Like some of these political views and these political ideologies, they almost like are a religion. Like, how dare you question my beliefs? I'm like, well, there's new information about this, or hey, like this has changed, or like, hey, this was proven incorrect. Like no amount of that type of evidence can change some people's minds. And I like talking about that stuff. I like talking about controversial stuff, and I have no qualms about hearing someone's viewpoint on it if it's different than mine. But I don't know.
I equate it to the sports teams. You're born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You're a Philadelphia Phillies fan. Nothing is going to change you from that fact. Whether the team's terrible, whether the team's bad, anything. You are a Phillies fan for life. People can be that same way about other things, and it just be that important to them. I I like my dogs. I like my dogs more than almost every person on this planet, and nothing's going to get me off of that fact because they're my dogs and they're my little friends, and there's nothing going to get me. So people will latch on to things that they're important to them, and that's what makes them happy and feel good. And if they latch onto a political party or a political pundit, then that's the one that they want to put their eggs in their basket, then they're going to defend that vehemently, and they're not going to come off of that. And the more they're challenged, the more they're going to dig their heels in, and they're
Yeah,
not going
it's
to be pulled
true.
away from their position. Just the people hang on to sports teams their entire lives just because of where they're born. The same with religion. People will fight about religion because they were born in the United States here. So they're a Lutheran or they're a Catholic. But if they were born in India, they would be Hindi, and they would have a different point of view just because of where they're born. So it could be the genetic lottery. You're born with money, or you're born poor and into a situation. You can work yourself out of that situation, but you have to be open to different beliefs and open to learning new things. And it could just be as simple as you're born where you're born, and your parents believe what they believe, or they didn't, or you want to rebel against your parents. Kids want to rebel against what their parents believe, or they're too strict, so they're not going to be strict when they're older. Um, we lost some balance. So it's I don't know where we're headed, but hopefully I can have a positive impact on the people that ask my opinion, and for the ones that don't, maybe they'll see something in the way I do things from now on that'll help them out. And if not, I hope the best for them.
No, you're a cool dude. I'm glad that Tyler connected us. Like, where can people find you and like Nicholas Allen? Like you're, I definitely want to follow you on social media after this. But like, where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you're doing, your podcast, your fitness content? Like, where's the best place to connect with you?
Absolutely. Lesser known operators, all streaming platforms, episodes every few days right now. We were at 3 a week, and then we went down to 1 a week when I got done with my road trip, and now we're going to settle on 2 a week, hopefully in perpetuity, starting on Monday. So episode 102 comes out on Monday, and
Cool.
all streaming platforms. Lesser known operators, which is my anti flex. Right, I was a Green Beret, but Green Berets are not operators for those in the military. And operators are a member of Delta Force or in the special missions units that go through operator training course. But since it's my show and I have created my own thing, a lesser known operator is somebody that really you've never heard of that's doing the right thing the right way. And I think we should tell their stories because not everybody does the cool stuff. And the people that did all that cool stuff, they're not coming on my show. Maybe some of them someday will, but there's things that need to remain a secret. But there's a lot of cool stuff that people do in my section of the community that nobody's ever heard of. And hopefully I can just help them tell their stories. And my main platform is Instagram, Lesser Known Operators and Lesser Known Operators Fitness on Instagram.
So cool. Yeah, I think, the podcast is really important, like what you're doing. And I don't think I'm overstepping here to say that like that could one day be like reflective. Like historians might look back at it one day and say, hey, like do we have any like real, video and audio evidence of like what actually happened in the special operations community? And they're going to point to people that, like you who have like a repertoire and a repository of hundreds of episodes where they can pull from. So I think like what you're doing is super important. A lot
It's
of
an eff-
Americans like, yeah,
it's a team effort. There's a few people.
yeah,
There's a lot of shows, but you got to stick with it. There's quite a few shows that have made it over 100 episodes, and there's a lot that haven't. and for whatever reason, people life comes up and things like that. But all the show has helped me more than it helps anybody else. I've gained a perspective, I've gained empathy, I know what some other people have gone through, and I've been able to work through some of my own issues. It may seem like there's a lot of podcasts out there, veteran run podcasts, or too many shows, or have you. And I used to agree with that, but now I go, who cares if anybody's listening? I get to sit down and I get to have a good conversation with a new friend all the time. And how many times do you get to speak with somebody that you've known for 10 years for over an hour? You never do that. Couple minute conversations at most for the rest of your lives. You'll only talk for 10, 20, 30 times the rest of your life once you meet. So I get to have a long conversation, introduce people, and then now I'm in your network and you're in mine, and hopefully we can have a positive impact on the community moving forward.
I love it. Well, feel free to stay on. But it was great talking to you, man. I'll on the recording and feel free to stay on.